Sometimes it's really difficult for autistic people to get haircuts. In my son,
Okay, so today we're going to be asking you questions about planning a trip and preparing for when you have an autistic child.
Okay.
So question number 1 is, what are some of the biggest challenges when planning a family trip?
Well, one of the most important challenges would be the accommodations. When you have an autistic child, those children sometimes have outbursts. So you have to take into consideration the families around you. When we go on vacation, regardless of where we stay, we try to let the hotel or the villa or wherever we're staying, we try to make them aware that we do have an autistic child, first of all, and can they accommodate us by placing us in an area where we're not so exposed or surrounded by a lot of families. That way, if there is an incident, the noise that is made by our child doesn't affect a whole lot of other individuals.
the biggest challenges that we have when planning a family trip include how many people. Well, first of all, we have 2 autistic children in our family, and we have to make sure that we have enough care or caregivers present to help us to care for them while we're on vacation. There was another big challenge. Lance, one of our children, he likes to be in his own room with his brother Brandon and no one else. So money is a big challenge because that second room, in many cases, we need a second room anyway because of our family size. However, it becomes even more challenging and more expensive when there can only be Lance and Brandon in that one room.
The second question is, when adding in certain factors involving Lance, your son, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much harder does that make it to plan this trip?
Well, I would say it makes it about a 7 because Lance has particular taste and he has particular needs. One of those needs is that Lance and his brother, his older brother, who is also one of his caregivers, they have a real close bond. So when you take into renting hotel rooms, you have to take into account that Lance will only share a room with his older brother and no one else. And we have a family of 6. So sometimes that can contribute to us having to get anywhere from 2 to 3 rooms, depending on the occupancy level of those rooms.
You know, he might have an outburst or he might not do well in a certain environment, so how much harder does it make it to have to try to predict these kind of things?
Oh, well, Lance has been known to be extremely aggressive in the past. He's not extremely aggressive now. He's mildly aggressive and not as much, but still aggression is aggression. And when you're on vacation, of course, you don't want to have your child making lots of noise that disturbs the people in the next room or people in the hotel where you're staying. So it's pretty challenging because we don't always know why he has the outbursts that he's having. So it could be challenging. We generally have to ask for a room at the end of the hallway, or somewhere where there's going to be noise to cover up his noise, such as near the pool, things like that. We have to look at the way the hotel is set up, and consider how we can shield him or shield any additional noises that he may be making so that it won't disturb people in the hotel.
Okay, so on a scale of 1 to 10, like 0 to 10, how much harder does that make the entire process?
Well, on a scale of 1 to 10, it makes the entire process usually a 10, because it's not always, a lot of hotels won't even guarantee you a placement in the hotel for a certain room on the end. You can request it, but it's not guaranteed. Also, with us having 2 rooms, we do have to have adjoining rooms or connecting rooms. We prefer connecting rooms, and those things, it makes it more challenging, so a 10 in that area. And also, like if we're cruising, if we're on a cruise ship, it can be challenging because of course there's nowhere to go off the ship. If he becomes aggressive, we have to deal with it right there in the room. So we have to find, it makes it challenging. I said 10 or 11 on a scale of 1 to 10.
So question number 3, you said like with the accommodations, you need to try to make sure you would like to be away from a bunch of other families in case he does have an outburst. But what are other things you have to be aware of when planning?
The distance in which you're traveling. Lance doesn't do very well over long distances, so you have to put things into place to keep him occupied. Number one, Lance is a gamer, so he plays a lot of video games, he plays a lot of computer games, so we have to make sure that his iPad is fully charged, that he has access to a charging port while we're in the car, so he has to sit in a certain seat. We have to make sure that his iPad is loaded with different games to keep his interest, and as long as that is in effect, you can drive great distances and he won't be affected.
Things we have to be aware of when planning. We have to be aware of, the first thing we have to consider is what is there to do for all our children and what is there to do specifically for Lance, because he has to be doing something at all times. He's never idle. He doesn't have any idle time except, of course, when he's asleep. But as long as he's awake, he has to have something to do. So his favorite activities on vacation are water, be it a pool, be it a beach, be it a cruise ship, or roller coasters, amusement parks, things like that, and video games. Let's say, for example, this last trip we just took, we wanted to go to the mountains as a family, but we decided to go to Six Flags because it was close by and there were a lot of activities there for Lance to do, such as pinball, video games, pool right in front of our room, Six Flags right there, different things for him to do. So those are kinds of things we have to question whether or not Lance will get bored.
And I know you mentioned with Lance, he will only share in a hotel room with his brother. What is one of the most inconvenient things that Lance does on vacation? Like maybe he won't stay in a place too long, or if he gets bored, that's it, he's done. Like what will be one of the most inconvenient things?
Well, I think with Lance is his sleeping habits, so it's kind of inconvenient that someone has to literally be woke during the periods of time in which Lance is woke. Autistic kids have a problem with determining whether or not it's night or day. So a lot of kids who are autistic sleep during the daytime hours and are woke all night. So when you're on vacation and you're trying to get some rest, in the case of Lance, everybody else might be asleep, but someone has to be up and monitoring him throughout the night.
One of the things that's inconvenient is that his sleeping schedules are off. He sleeps in the daytime and is up all night. And we've tried everything to get his sleeping schedule switched around. And it'll work for about a week, but it just turns out he prefers to stay up and be awake when everybody's asleep. So we kind of just work with it and just let him do that. So the main thing that's difficult is someone has to be up with him at night while we're on vacation to make sure he doesn't decide, oh, I want to go take a swim while everybody's asleep, which he hadn't done yet, thank God. That's one of the main inconveniences that we have when we're on vacation. Someone, which is generally Brandon, because that's the only person he wants in his room, has to be up with him or has to sleep with him on his schedule. So during the vacation, Brandon is sleeping when he's sleeping and awake when he's awake. So he's up all night just as Lance is and awake. He's up all night with Lance and awake, sleeping during the daytime. So that's a challenge because when we want to do a family activity, we have to plan the activity around their sleep and wake schedule. Another thing that's inconvenient is his eating regimen. When he eats at home, on vacation, first of all, he doesn't like to eat in restaurants at all. He always wants to eat at home. So when he's on vacation, he wants to eat in the hotel room. So if we decide to go out and have, it limits us to the activities that we can do outside of the hotel room. So if we want to go out to a famous restaurant or something like that, Lance and Brandon probably won't be a part of that because someone has to stay with him, and the rest of the family may go out on that outing. So that's something that's inconvenient, not being able to have the full, complete family there at something, that's common as dinner.
We're down to our last two questions. What are the top 3 mandatory things for Lance to have on vacation? Like, if he does not have these things, everyone is aware that it will not go smoothly.
Well, number one thing, he has to have access to a video game system, YouTube, and something like Netflix or Amazon or something like that, because he likes to watch the movies and the shows and stuff he wants to watch when he wants to watch them.
Well, he has to have his iPad. That's absolutely mandatory. He must have his iPad. If he doesn't have his iPad, the iPad keeps him distracted when we're in the car on the way to our destination. We haven't flown yet as a family, so all our vacations are in the van while we're traveling to our destination. So he has to have an iPad so he can play games, watch movies, YouTube. He has to have potato chips so he can have a snack while we're on the highway because he doesn't like to go to restaurants. Excuse me. That's number 2. Number 3. Bottled water. He has to have something refreshing, bottled water in the car, so we carry a cooler with us to make sure he has what he needs. Oh, and I'm gonna go ahead and throw a number 4 in. Whenever he has a meal, he has to have, wherever it is, he has to have vitamin C. He's not medicated, but we do give him some basic vitamins that we give him. He has to have that even if we're in the car, on vacation, and then someone stop and say bless his food. That's the only way he'll eat at home or on vacation.
And the last question is, how long does it take to prepare for a trip? Like, is it like a week, or you have to prepare this like 2 months in advance? Like, how long does it take to get everything in order?
I would say to make sure you're going to have a successful trip, you need to plan at least a month in advance.
All right, well, thank you. Okay, and the last question is, like, when it comes to preparing, what are things that you know have to be done before this trip, and how long does that normally take? Like the process of just preparing the trip surrounding lands.
I think most of the time, just surrounding lands. I would say it takes us about 30 days to plan a trip and prepare it, get people in place. We're self-employed, so we work in our own contracts. So we have to put people in place with just surrounding lands. Maybe that's a tough question. At least 7 to 14 days, because we have to show him the suitcases and show him that we're packing for this trip. Show him some pictures of an old vacation so he would understand that we're going on vacation, and more importantly that he's coming too. Because me and James, we take a lot of vacations where Lance is not going. And sometimes we take vacations and the girls come, me and my husband and 2 girls come, and Lance is not going. Because there's not going to be a lot of activity for him that caters to him. But we show him a lot of pictures where he was in the picture, mostly on roller coasters and stuff like that, of older trips, and we get the suitcases out and maybe 7 days before the trip and let him know that we are going to be going on a vacation. You are going on vacation. And then we also, of course, there is the tough job of having to get his hair cut. He doesn't like getting his hair cut and be shaven and stuff like that. So most of the time when we're getting ready to go on vacation, it's needing to be done. So that is a ordeal that we have to go through every time before vacation, to go ahead and get his hair cut, get him shaven, and get him looking good.
All right, thank you.
Okay.